All right, what's going on, guys? So today I wanted to talk about just two different things that I've been seeing come up a lot in a lot of the questions that people have been having, and a lot of Google questions, and just on Google itself, and just even on regular social media. So the first one is functional exercises. The second one is exercises, arm workouts that you can do with dumbbells. So for the first part, with arm workouts that you can do with dumbbells, as I mentioned in the not first video, but in the last video, that is really, really good to invest in a couple, not a couple, but a pair of dumbbells, because it's something that doesn't take up a lot of space, and you can keep it in your house or just wherever you work out. And the benefit is, like I said before, you don't have to travel to the gym to use them. And you can use them in different ways, because you can do more than just arm workouts. But I wanted to specifically talk about some arm workouts. So a great way to understand it is that basically the different parts of your arm. So when people see arm workouts, the problem is that they just think that, not think that, but they don't fully understand the anatomy of the body and the way that regular anatomy intersects with fitness as a whole. And when they do that, it's not that they get confused, but they end up missing out things that are important. So, like I said before, different workouts target different things. So, for your arms, your different parts. You have, the bicep, the tricep, the shoulder. You have forearms. You have different parts. And the benefit of dumbbells is that you can use them to work those different parts. So, for example, for your forearm, so the forearm is right under I don't even know how to describe it, but basically the underside of your palm. And if you wanted to work out your forearms, you could do what you call a farmer's carry. Basically, what that is that's just carrying the dumbbells in your hand and walking a few feet, or just walking around. And you can time it to make it progressively harder, but doing that increases your grip strength, and over time, because you're constantly, squeezing, holding onto the dumbbell, using your grip to keep the weight from falling, you start to build up forearms. And then the other thing is, like I said, basic just curls with the dumbbell itself, and that's, regular bicep. Now we have the opposite side, the tricep. Now this is where you have to be creative, because when you work out, typically people don't understand but they don't understand how to be creative outside of the gym. And that's because, like I said before, people rely on gyms. They're useful, but there's stuff that you can do for the triceps using dumbbells. So one thing is the tricep extension. So that's a little bit harder, because if you're a beginner, you're going to be confused on how to position your arm, because one, you don't want to injure yourself. That's most important. Two, you don't understand fully I don't want to say your muscular system, but you haven't, if you're untrained, you're not going to understand how to target certain muscle groups in complex ways. So for my beginners, I'm just putting this out there just so you know it's possible. But for my more intermediate lifters, you know that, you can do that if you don't have access to something that can target your triceps, like a bench, or a barbell, like if you're going to do skull crushers. But like I said, those were little tricks that I learned when my gym will be crowded. Now, the next thing is shoulders. So you can do overhead press. That's a really, really good thing. And then what else did I mention? I think that was it. But there's different stuff you can do. So I would advise, like I said, if you're a beginner, a really, really good workout with dumbbells, even if you're working out at home, do some curls, as basic as it gets. I think people get a little bit, not a little bit, but really, really caught up in the hype of being dramatic and just trying to look a certain way in the gym, and just sometimes they overload it with information, and it's better if it can just be concise, but they get overloaded and they get confused. But the basics always work best. If you can stay within the basics and just do what you need to do, you'll be fine. So like I said, basic curls. And then remember that there are different variations. The variations are so that you can still progress, because of course, over time you get good and you have to increase the weight, but you can do different variations if you don't want to increase the weight, or maybe it's too much on your joints, or if you don't have room to buy weights in the scenario that you have weights in your house. So for me, over time, I didn't want to keep buying them. I didn't buy the adjustable ones yet at that time, and I wanted to progress, but I just didn't want to buy more weights. And on top of that, I wanted to work out different parts of my arm. So an example is doing cross body curls. Those help out somewhat with the inside of the bicep, not the inside, the outside of the bicep. So that'll help you get some more size on it. But it's better because, like I said, it can just help your biceps to grow because it's a different variation. So there's a lot of different stuff you guys can be doing to improve, especially for my beginners. Typically, for most beginners, I know that you guys want arms, especially for my guys who are slimmer. The first thing you're always going to really want is to work on your arms, and I would advise you work on everything. Focus on full body workouts, but when you do decide to do the arm workouts, make them, a minimal part of the workout itself. And when I say that, I'm saying, make the compound moves the most important. Make your squat, your bench the most important things. Your overhead press especially the most important things. Like I said, the workouts that target small muscle groups, like just the bicep and the tricep, specifically, like I said, you can do it. Focus on progressing. That's important. But make that, a small amount of the focus, because by doing the other workouts, like if you're doing a deadlift and even doing your bench, your arms are going to grow, because remember, the triceps are through 2/3 of the arm. They take up a lot more of the arm than a lot of people think, because they connect a little bit higher to the muscle, and they just take a lot more room. And my example is when I had first started training, in all honesty, I didn't do a lot of tricep work, and even the small tricep work that I did, my body responded really, really quickly. So that's proof that, you're going to see arm growth as long as you're doing, your push workouts. But like I said, make sure that, you're doing your basic curls. Like I said, your arm workouts, your overhead press, you're focusing on the big lifts, but you're always progressing. That's where a lot of you guys mess up, is that you're not progressing. You're just doing the same thing. So constantly be progressing. The reason why people don't progress is because they spend too much time in the gym and they don't make a plan focused on progressing. So obviously you're not going to progress if you're going to the gym for like an hour and a half, and this is assumed that you're not taking anything. You're not going to be able to have the energy to even progress, because you're just, you just don't have the energy because you're working out long. So when you work out less, you're able to put in more energy, put in more work, and then eventually you start progressing and getting bigger. So for my guys who've been working out, and I even saw this when I was in school, guys who were working out for like 2 hours and they're not seeing any results. When I had started cutting back my own training, I started seeing more results. So it's about progress and quality, because the body's just going to naturally respond as you increase and as you improve. It's similar to somebody who's endurance training. If you increase the time, then eventually you'll get tired. It'll take you longer to get tired. It's the same thing with size, and the same thing with strength. As you improve, you get stronger. But with hypertrophy training, when people want size, they get messed up by thinking that it's all about reps, when the body doesn't know the difference. The body is just responding based on stimuli, and when the body is like, okay, I need to grow, it'll grow, and you'll start to get the size. And yeah, that's just my experience. So I want you guys to try this out, see how it works.